Hello and welcome to today's daily news analysis. So as always, we are doing the Hindu newspapers Delhi edition and quite a bit of PIB today. Okay, so these are the topics as you can see. Now moving on to the first topic. So Tamil Nadu tops the food safety index. Now from the prelims point of view, we should be mindful as to what index are we talking about, which agency which agency is responsible for it, so that we should know. So these are the things typically UPSC may ask in the prelims. And yes, it is of no harm if we have a general idea as to which all countries are performing well. So like Tamil Nadu is mentioned amongst the states. Then we have Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, which is done exceedingly well. So within the UTs, it is Jammu and Kashmir. Okay. So this is for prelims. And from the point of view of mains, what we should be thinking is we really don't expect a question or directly on this, but in the recent times, like for example, there was a question asked on National Millets Mission. It's a very direct question. So why not a question be asked on food safety? And agriculture is a domain also, agriculture, economic development. So GS3 covers all of this. So in GS3, it can be asked. So we should have a note on food safety, maybe a fact, starting with a fact, adulteration, all those issues. What measures are the government taking? One of the measures you have, we'll discuss it right now. And what should be the way forward? So on those lines, we should be prepared. Okay, now coming back to this. So we have the food safety index. So this is, the complete title is State Food Safety Index. Which was unveiled by our health minister. So this is from the PIB. So Dr. Mandavia. We don't have to memorize this. Okay, so health minister. And this agency, the agency which released this was the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India. So Food Safety and Standards Authority of India is preparing this report or this index or this rating. And why is the health minister doing it? Because the Food Safety and Security Authority of India is under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. And one more thing, this is the statutory body. That is, it is created by a statute of the Parliament. Statute means law. So statutory body. Okay, so we have some things. Now during this, all this initiative over here, the health minister had said, with reference to nation nutrition, he said that for a prosperous India, Samruddh Bharat, we need a healthy India, Swasthya Bharat. So Swasth Bharat. And for a Swasth Bharat, for a healthy India, we need a healthy citizens. Naturally, so healthy citizens are needed for a healthy India. And if the country is healthy, they will do well, they'll be prosperity. So these are certain things. Now there are certain other things that have been mentioned over here. So various innovative initiatives of FSSAI. So what are these initiatives? We should know about them. So some of them are Eat Right Research Awards. So this was given, Eat Right Creativity Challenge and Ayurveda Ahar. So Ayurveda based food products. So we should know about some of the initiatives of the this authority basically. So I visited the website, we got some of the schemes over here. So you can have a look at this, you can read this. In fact, I would always encourage you to visit this website directly. Now moving on to the next news. So this is I think this is a predominant theme in the newspaper. So government reaches out to all OIC members. So what is this OIC? We did this yesterday. So Organization of Islamic Countries. So about 57 countries which are predominantly Islamic. Naturally, from the name also you can figure out. So these countries are there, and this block, in any ways, this is very critical of the government. But now something very controversial has taken place, and even India's friends within the OIC have taken a very critical view of India. So this BJP MP, BJP spokesperson had said something controversial with reference to Islamic religion, and this belongs to the ruling party BJP, which is obviously in the government. So all this controversy took place because of that. So why is this an issue? That is the important thing, and this can be asked, not really, but yes, from GS2 we should keep it in mind. So what are the things? OIC, so predominantly Arabic countries, oil-rich countries, so energy security is national security, right? So from that, now in the long run, maybe energy security may not be affected, but people may not like this, the people in these countries. And our people, Indian diaspora is going for work in Saudi Arabia. They're going on construction sites, or in petroleum industries, they are working over there. So Indian diaspora, their safety may be of concern, or maybe these countries may not take a positive view of the safety of the Indians. So that is a core concern for us. And these Indians that are working over there, they are earning money, and then they send back to their parents, to their families, in the form of remittances. So this may get affected. Maybe not so much the trade may not get affected, but the remittances that is coming to India, that may get affected. So this is a very, very big issue for us, and we are one of the largest beneficiaries of the remittances that are coming from these countries. So we need to be more mindful over here, and some corrective measures is required. So like in this case, we have the Vice President of India, who is in Doha. Doha is the capital of Qatar. So here he is articulating India's view of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. And yes, this militant organization is also saying something. Okay. Now this is important. These two articles that we are going to do, these are related. So this one and this one is related. So we have to focus, and this can be directly asked in the GS3 paper. So environment, disaster management, national hazards. So from that point of view, we have to prepare this. So we can see from the headline itself, alarms raised as leachate from Bhandwari spills into Aravali. So we should know what is leachate first of all. So you can see this landfill site, or you can see this landfill. This is the Delhi famous one. When you enter the Delhi, you are greeted by this mountain of waste. Okay. So these landfill sites, all the city's waste is dumped in a particular area. So they have a lot of waste material. They have organic waste, they have metallic waste. So all sort of waste is there over here. And this will have moisture also. Plus during the rainy season, when the rains, more and more water comes in. Water is the universal solvent. It mixes with the waste that is there. It gradually percolates downwards. It may enter into the groundwater, it may enter into the soil, or it may flow into the streams, into the rivers ultimately. So this water that percolates, that is being referred to as leachate. And you can imagine how polluting this would be. If it goes into the soil and the soil nutrients, they get affected, or if it flows into the water, groundwater, and people are ultimately drinking the water that is in touch with this. So that will obviously not be good. So it will naturally contaminate groundwater, but it will also put the human lives at risk, and of course wildlife also. Then in this region that has been mentioned over here, people are actually forced to buy bottled waters. So normal system of aquaguards and all that is not working. They have to buy bottled waters like Bisleri, etc., or they're distilling water. And by the way, distilling water is again not a good thing to drink also, because it lacks the salts. Okay, so this is there. So this is being done by a wildlife activist who has taken up this issue, and thereby it is in news. Otherwise, this would have continued. Government would turn a blind eye on all the things. Okay, now from GS3. So first of all, we need to be able to define leachate. How is it coming? So that thing we should be able to know. We should have a note about this. How bad is this issue? Secondly, what are the consequences? Now these you have already, and I think this is well written in the internet also. You will find it very easily. Now, what measures must be taken? I think what measures are being taken. That is the one that you may have to work. I have added some content over here. So one is that we need to treat the leachate, right? So you can see there is this diagram of a landfill site. So what contaminated leachate is flowing downwards. So one thing that can be done is that there could be a leachate treatment system. So treating of this leachate water and ultimately releasing it into the environment. Reducing the organic waste. So most of the water content that is coming without the rains, obviously, that water content is coming from the organic waste. So anything we eat, anything that we throw, naturally it has water. Cooking things that you leave also, that is also water. So organic waste. So separate that, dry that, and then dispose it off. Or convert them into something of organic relevance, maybe in form of compost or in the form of biochar. So biochar is basically condensed form of carbon, which can be used in reclaiming of the soil, or it could be used in power plants, etc. Carbon, you can burn it, CO2, you'll get it. Then yes, above all, I think we should also focus on managing the landfill waste. Why manage the leachate that is coming from landfill? Why not just manage the landfills? In fact, India's neighborhood, particularly Sri Lanka, has done a very good job with this regard. So typical steps, reduce. I think first thing is you have to reduce the waste. So solid waste management, that is also there. So some of the steps that are mentioned over here, you can see this. Then I referred for more things. So I found this article. This is the PIB. So sustainable processing of municipal solid waste, converting waste to wealth. This is a primary theme of the union government also. So from that also it's important. I'll share this link on the comment section. So one will be of the mentorship or the personal guidance program, and alongside this it will be this also. So I want you to read this by yourself. Briefly, it is telling us about the waste that is coming over here. So by means of gasification, plasma gasification, converting this into syngas. Whatever gas are there, can use this and burn this for getting electricity or whatever purpose. So waste to electricity. Then incineration, burning the plastic. So whatever things are there, burning it, using it for getting energy, and then that waste is also disposed of. So that is there. Then vermicomposting was mentioned. So the residual slurry from biogas plant is converted to compost in a natural process known as vermicomposting. Then biomass waste disposal. Right. So all those things can be taken up. Biochar point, I got it from here only. Right. So I'll share with you. Now in the opinion section, at the last page of the opinion section, there is this data point where we get certain facts. So it tells us about mounting e-debris. So within that solid waste, there is electronic waste also. More and more electronics are being used in the recent times, right? Mobile phones and televisions. Now they're talking about solar cells will be there. So more and more of solar cells, photovoltaic cells, even that will contribute to e-waste. Now, e-waste is far worse than the normal waste. Why? Because naturally, electronic waste, it has a lot of these minerals over here, metals, lead, cadmium, mercury, all of them can cause severe issues, severe problems in a human body. Even trace amounts can be very, very bad for your health. By the way, a question was asked as to which of the following are e-waste in Prelims 2011. I think it was 2011. So these options, these were the things that were given over here. Okay, so that's why I've covered this. Okay. So yeah. So how do we get over here? So it says that recently the government's Central Pollution Control Board, which was again mentioned in your prelims examination. So Central Pollution Control Board released a study and mentioned in the report. So it released a report, and it said that about 1000 kilotons of e-waste has been produced in 2019-2020. So 1000 kilotons. And it says that about 1/3 of it is recycled. So if 1000 kilotons of of e-waste is generated, so 300 kilotons of e-waste is being recycled or treated. However, now this is important for your prelims also, the Global E-Waste Monitor Report. Which report? Global E-Waste Monitor Report by the United Nations. You get it. That's all we wanted for prelims. So Global E-Waste Monitor Report, it says that India has grossly overstated the recycling that they are doing for the e-waste. So it says that only 10% of the e-waste generated is actually collected. So only 10%. That means India is taking credit 3 times of what they are actually doing. So 100 kiloton is only happening, wrong data is being used, and they feel that 3 times is being collected. And naturally this is bad. We have to treat that. We have to have some special approach for e-waste management. It cannot go simply into these sites. And imagine with the leachate, the e-waste, there's mercury, cadmium entering into the water, groundwater, and trace amounts you're drinking. In the long run, it will be very, very bad. So to manage this, the government came up with something known as the e-waste rules 2016, and in the same year the government came up with the solid waste management rules. So in this there are concepts like extended producer responsibility. So basically the producer who has manufactured all this, like my laptop or whatever things are there, electronics, so they have an extended responsibility of recycling, or maybe taking back the same thing, or recycling the amount of things that they have sold. The same thing has to be recycled, or most of it has to be done. So something to that effect. I'm not really been able to put it very well actually. Okay, so e-waste rules is over here. India aims to join the NSG. So this the External Affairs Minister is saying. So and he was speaking on the foreign policy decisions of the government. Fine. Now we should know what is the NSG. What is the NSG? Why is India aiming for it? And what are the obstacles? And I'm pointing it to over here for a specific reason. It is China which is the biggest obstacle over here. Okay, so NSG. So I think you can read this by yourself. So when we talk about the nuclear arena, there are two things that that any country of the world is supposed to be signing. So one is Non-Proliferation Treaty and the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty, which India has not signed. Because if India had signed Non-Proliferation Treaty, proliferation means spreading. So, you know, initially there were these permanent member countries of the UN, and these countries also became the countries that had tested the nuclear weapons. They had nuclear resources. So they became the countries with the nuclear powers, and later they said that from now on, no country will be allowed to have nuclear resources, nuclear weapons, and no country can test it. So Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty and Non-Proliferation Treaty, that is, the nuclear weapon technology will not be spread because this is a very, very dangerous technology. But we can continue to have which countries? The P5 countries, which includes China, which is in our neighborhood. Naturally, this is not fair, and rightfully India refused to sign the NPT and the CTBT. Now, according to this, India was not supposed to get access. All countries have signed. India was not supposed to get access to the nuclear technologies, which India was not supposed to get. But somehow India managed to test its nuclear weapons, nuclear resources in 1974 during the time of Madam Indira Gandhi. So they realized, the world leaders, particularly the United States, it was a bipolar world, but US was predominant over that time also. So they realized that some sort of checks have to be there that goes beyond the NPT and the CTBT. And that is how the NSG came into existence, Nuclear Supply Group. So it is a rules-based, rule-making body for supply of nuclear resources like nuclear fuel or technology, right? So for all this, so their purpose was to create some set of rules, or actually more elaborate rules, which the NPT and the CTBT could not cover, so that the proliferation of nuclear weapons technology does not take place. So that was the idea. But India somehow and this was because India had already managed to do it. They felt there is a shortcoming. Now, because of the good track record of India, because of India's good track record, India's relations getting improved with the United States also. So now there is a push for India's entry into the NSG, and India wants entry into this because if India is into the rule-making body, the NSG, so India will be making rules. India will be a preferred country for access to the nuclear resources. So nuclear fuel we do not have. We need critical technologies, particularly from Japan, so that we'll be able to get it much more easily. And since we are not a signatory of NPT and the CTBT, these things become very difficult for us. So that is why India aims to be a member of the NSG. Okay, so this is there. Now, besides NSG, we have certain other treaties associated very similar to this, which has to do with weapons. So these are Missile Technology Control Regime, which was asked in your pre-exam, by the way. Is India a member of this? So this you should know. Australia Group and Wassenaar Arrangement. Australia Group is associated with biological weapons, and Wassenaar Arrangement is associated with any technology, any resource which can be used for nuclear things also, or weapons of mass destruction. So India's space program, the technologies that we needed were stalled by the US because they felt that certain exports to India would be misused for promotion of nuclear weapons. So dual use, so space and for example space and nuclear missiles. Next article, Advisory Board on Disability not reconstituted since 2020. I think I'll be very fair on this thing. When we get from prelims, naturally we'll know more about this, so that will be important for your prelims as to why this body has to be there. This topic over here, this theme is important from GS2, that is the rights and the interest of the disabled. So this is GS2, you may call it governance, you may call it social justice, anything. Anyways, it is coming under the GS2 paper. Now you would say that it is society, but this has a governance element to it. That is why this is in GS2. So what is the government doing for the welfare of the people who are affected? Now this can be asked as to what all steps is the government doing for bringing social justice to the people who are disabled. Right, so on those lines, then it could be about a critical assessment of schemes of India like Accessible India campaign. Recently, to be fair, such questions are not being asked, but previously they used to ask this. Okay, so Accessible India campaign and Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act. So these are two themes. We should know the features, and we should know about an implementation and what shortcomings are there. And naturally, when we do the shortcomings, we automatically know what corrective measures are to be taken. Okay, so now let's discuss the news article. So, advisory board has not been constituted on disability. Now, this board was to be formed under a requirement that was created by the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act. That means, according to this law, a central advisory board on disability was to meet every 6 months. So this is all important for your prelims. So a CAB has to meet every 6 months, and what will it do? It will see as to what is the government doing with reference to the interest of the disabled population. And what is the biggest concern of anybody who is disabled? The issue of accessibility. Accessibility to buildings, accessibility to public transport, accessibility to government schemes also, who knows. accessibility to new age technology, mobile communications, whatever. So the biggest issue is accessibility. So what is the government doing with reference to that? So that was the prime area. So it would have also reviewed the functioning of the Accessible India campaign. That was, I think, in 2016 or something, 2016 or 18 it was initiated. And this Accessible India is also Sugamya Bharat Abhiyan. Okay, so fine. So this is it. Now, what is the CAB? CAB is the highest policy making body for disability issues. So this body is to be constituted. Whenever it is constituted, it has a term of 3 years. So it has a term of 3 years. So it was first constituted in 2016 according to the article, and its term obviously got over. So now 2020, the next board was to be constituted, but this has not been constituted ever since. So we are now in mid of 2022. And this body is required to make policy. It is to advise the government. It is the national level consultative body. It is responsible for, it's the highest policy making body for disability issues, all of this. It will review the working of the government every 6 months with reference to the interest of the disabled. But imagine in the last 2-3 years, since there was no body, so nobody had actually reviewed this. And this reflects the lack of seriousness on part of the government to the issue of disabled. Clear? Okay. Now moving on, and another issue with the CAB over here is that it is heavily loaded by the bureaucrats. And very few representation is there of people from organizations or activists who are genuinely concerned with the interest of the disabled. Because bureaucrat will function like they are appointed, so they are doing their duty. But an activist would actually be associated with the people, and they'll be more concerned in that way. They will know more of the shortcomings of the government, and they'll be more pointed in their criticisms. So therefore, we need more of this representation, and this is again a flaw. So from mains perspective, from mains perspective, we should have a note on this Accessible India campaign or this persons with disabilities. Then issues faced by the disabled, what steps can be taken. So this is a very important theme from that point of view. For prelims, this news, airports in the country to have an oversight body. So which body? So the Ministry of Civil Aviation unveils a national air sports policy, according to which it is saying that there should be an oversight body, and this body will be the Air Sports Federation of India, and it aims to create a 4-tier governance structure. Right, so that is there, and they also aim to reduce the taxation GST on air sports from 18 to 28% to 5%, which is actually very liberal. Okay, so this concludes our, oh no, there is one more. This is the international section. So in Britain, there was the no trust vote that took place. So there was a political instability which the British Prime Minister is able to tide over. So just like in India, we have the no confidence motion, there they call it no trust vote. Russia claims to have partial control over this region. Then Hong Kong not becoming a police state. What is a police state and how is it different from a welfare state? So police state is something that is concerned with management of law and order. Everything is running fine, like British Raj in India. Welfare state goes beyond this. Places in news. This is again important. This article, China, Cambodia to begin port project. So from that perspective, this is there. So you should be able to find this on the map. And US allies flies jet over Korean waters. So again, like Senkaku Islands was asked. So similarly, Korean Peninsula, associated sea, associated region, cold current that comes. So all of this, I think, even with reference to Cambodia, China, you should be doing. And this region, I think it has the Mekong River also. So read about that also. So this now finally concludes the daily news analysis. So So thank you for streaming in to our channel IASPrimers with me, Shubhashish. And if you haven't joined our Telegram channel, so please do. We are posting a lot of content. So that will be beneficial for your preparation. Bye bye, take care, all the best.